Welcome to today's webinar about the VSDX export. My name is Lukas. I'm the lead developer for the VSDX export add-on for yFiles. The webinar will be about 35 to 40 minutes. And it is split into two parts. In the first part, I'm giving you a broad overview over Visio, over the VSDX export and its features and some use cases. The first part is for everyone, and the second part is targeted mostly at developers. So if you know how to program, that's useful. In the second part, I will dive a little deeper into the Visio shape model and how to program with the VSDX export, and we're going to do a programming example. At the end of both parts, there will be a questions and answers section. And if you have any questions during the webinar, type them into the webinar chat, and I will try to answer them in these Q&A sessions. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and we will upload it later to YouTube, so you can watch it later if you want to. All right, what's Visio? Visio is a general purpose diagram editor. You can create diagrams, graphs like flowcharts, org charts, floor plans, whatever you like. And what's great about Visio is that you can bind your data to the diagram or the visualization to your data with formulas. And Visio supports some automatic graph layouts, but the options are very limited and the results are often not that great. And the file formats for Visio are mainly VSDX and VSSX for stencils and VSTX for the templates. That's why our Visio export is called VSDX export. I'm quickly going to show you how Visio looks like. That's Visio, and I can, for example, create a network diagram with it, and drag in some computers and connect them with edges. That's not what I wanted. And then you can create a diagram, and if you want, you can apply layouts to your page. For example, here a radial layout. So why would you use the VSDX export add-on for yFiles? There are several use cases. One would be if you have a yFiles application and you want to or need to share the diagrams with customers, with other departments or business partners, but they don't have access to your yFiles application. So you can share your diagrams with them, or if they need them for their business processes, or another use case would be you can create very high quality Visio files with yFiles capabilities. So you can, for example, use yFiles layouts to create Visio files with yFiles. And another use case would be to integrate yFiles into existing business process that rely on Visio. Yeah. So what's the VSDX export? As I already said, it's an add-on for yFiles for HTML. For those of you who don't know, yFiles is our main product. It's a software library where you can display graphs, edit them, and most importantly, apply automatic graph layouts to them. The VSDX export adds the functionality to export those yFiles diagrams to the Visio file format. And while doing so, it preserves the graph structure. The Visio files can be edited later. Item styles you have in yFiles are usually converted automatically. And you can, of course, customize the whole export process. The VSDX export add-on, like yFiles, runs fully client-side in a browser, but you can, of course, run it server-side or as part of a tool chain with a headless browser. The files that the VSDX export produces are compatible with Visio 2013 and later. How can you get the VSDX export? It's sold separately as an add-on for yFiles for HTML, and you can find license information under yfiles.com/pricing. If you want to try it out, you can download a free 60-day evaluation version from mywireworks.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact our sales team for licensing sales questions, or if you have technical questions, contact our developer team. So what are the features? A bit more in depth. As I already said, the VSDX export preserve the graph structure during the export. So edges are really connected to the nodes, and groups are preserved. And it also preserves the metadata. For example, if you have business data assigned to certain nodes or edges or so, they can also be brought to Visio and occur as shape data there. If you use SVG for your item styles, they're mostly converted automatically, but you can always customize this process. Another option is you can use existing Visio stencils and map your yFiles item styles to those stencils. So in your yFiles app, they appear with the yFile styles, and then you run the export. And in Visio, you can see your stencils that you assign to the items. And if those two options don't suffice, you can always create the masters and shapes programmatically. You have also the option to use Visio templates. For example, if you want a certain background behind the diagram or so, you can load a Visio template and add your yFiles diagram to that. And you can also create or combine multiple yFiles diagrams into a single Visio file. So you can, for example, create a larger report or something like that with multiple diagrams or multiple pages in a single Visio file. Okay, then I'll show you some of the features. Yeah, for that, let me maybe switch to my browser. These are the demos that are part of the package you can download, and you get them with the VSDX export library. Yeah, so I want to show you a few examples. This is the styles view demo where we have like different graphs you can export, and then if you press this button, it creates a Visio file from that. And what you can see here is that the C order is preserved. So we have a group graph here with nodes and groups, and this is preserved in the Visio export. Then I wanted to show you this one, where we have these beautiful Bezier style edges. These are also preserved in Visio, as you can see. And yeah, finally, the social network graph, which is yeah, a simple graph with people icons, and they are also automatically converted. And what I want to show here is that the stencils for these items also show up in the document stencils of this document then. Then in this demo, we have an organization chart with yeah, organization hierarchy. And if I export that and yeah, look at it in Visio, I can see that if I select a node here, there's all kinds of metadata assigned to each of these nodes. And these are preserved as shape data in Visio. So that's this is the way how you can bind your user business data to these items in Visio. And then we have another use case where we have multiple diagrams. Here are just very simple graphs. And this demo shows how you can combine all these 4 diagrams into a single Visio file. So we have the first 2 diagrams on the first page, and the other 2 diagrams are on the second page. And yeah, then what I want to show you here is we have a very simple yFiles graph with these white rectangles for node styles. And what this demo shows is how you can use an existing Visio stencil. I'll show you the stencil. So the stencil is basically this red ellipse, as you can see here. I hope it's big enough. And we'll use the stencil to assign these red ellipses to our nodes. So you can see in the exported file, there are these red ellipses, and you can also see that yeah, we've used this exact node stencil. And last but not least, I'm going to show you the demo that we are or the example that the code I'm gonna show you later in the programming example. We have here these computers, and we want to add them to a Visio template. So the template looks like this. It's basically a blank page with this logo in the bottom right, and the logo is on a background page. So you can edit this, but this background page is assigned as background to this front page. And yeah, when I export it, it adds our graph to our template with the logo. Yeah, so far so good. Then features for developers. Yeah, the add-on comes with all the developer features you used from yFiles for HTML. So it seamlessly integrates with your IDE. We have several source code demos. We have a developer's guide and API documentation. And yeah, you can find the API documentation online at docs.yworks.com. So yeah, coding is easy. And yeah, what we're now considering is the VSDX export currently can only export yFiles diagrams to Visio files. But the other direction is currently not possible. So you cannot, well, you can open a stencil file or a template file, and then add yFiles diagrams to them and save them again. You cannot currently load the graphs in the Visio file and display them in your yFiles application. That's currently not possible. And we're currently considering if we want to add this functionality to this add-on. And this basically consists of two parts. One part would be to just parse the stencils in a Visio file and use them for your nodes, for the labels, etc. in your yFiles applications. The benefit of this is that you can use the very rich you can use stencils, the stencil libraries that already exist, and don't have to program them in yFiles. Second part is to load the actual graph structure of a Visio file. So you can actually load graphs into yFiles, edit them, apply layouts, and maybe export them later to a Visio again. And yeah, this enables would enable the full round trip to load a Visio file, modify it in yFiles, and export it again. And yeah, we're working on a prototype at the moment, and we are interested in your feedback. Are you generally interested? What are your specific use cases, and what would be essential features for you if we decide to actually implement it and release it? So feel free to fill out the polls of this webinar at the end, and maybe contact our support team if you want. Yes, that concludes the first part of this webinar. If you have questions, you can type them into the chat and I'll try to answer them. Okay, there's one question. Can I evaluate yFiles and the VSDX export at the same time, or do I have to buy yFiles first? No, you don't have to buy yFiles first. You can evaluate both the yFiles core library and the VSDX export add-on at the same time, and yeah, try it out. Okay, then I'll continue with the second part. Yeah, this part will be a bit more technical, as I mentioned before. Now I'm gonna show you a bit how the Visio shape and page model works, and how you program with the VSDX export, and then we're gonna do a programming example. Yeah, so how to get started? As you're probably familiar, you can install both the yFiles library as well as the VSDX export with npm. Yeah, using npm install as you used to. There you have basically two options. You can either upload the libraries to your local internal registry and install it from there, or you can just install the TGZ files we ship with the packages and yeah, install it directly from your own file system. If you want to run the demos in the downloaded package, you need to place the VSDX export package and the yFiles package next to each other, and then run the prepare demos npm script in the VSDX export, and then you can run the demos. And yeah, once you've installed both libraries, you can import this VSDX.io class, create a default instance from it, add your graph, and pass it your graph component with the graph, and then finally write it to a Visio file and save the file. So how does Visio work? Diagrams consist of single shapes, and it's possible to organize those shapes into groups so they move together or resize together, etc. And these shapes, they have properties like width or height or color, and that's the special part about Visio. All these properties can be reactive by defining formulas for them. For example, here we would define width equals sheet 1, which is another shape, and the width of it times 0.3. Yeah, and in addition to that, shapes can inherit properties from masters and style sheets. So the properties from this master shape is inherited to the shape on the page, and style sheets apply also the styles to the shape. So you can imagine them like CSS style sheets. Yeah. So how do we convert yFiles graphs to these Visio shapes? In yFiles, we have 4 different kinds of items. We have nodes, we have labels, we have edges, and we have ports. And edges connect to nodes via these ports. And Visio is similar, and we translate our yFiles model to Visio shapes as follows. First, each node has a container shape, and inside of this container shape, there is one shape for the node visualization, and of course, child shapes if you want. And then there's a shape for each label of this node inside the node container shape. And also there are shapes for each port. And each of these ports has a connection. Connections are the things that connectors, which are edges, connect to and are logically bound to. And yeah, the edges are represented as 2D shapes, as they're called in Visio, or connectors. And in order to be able to customize the how yFiles items are converted to Visio shapes, the VSDX export has basically two conversion pipelines. The first pipeline determines the master and style sheets for a particular item, and then the VSDX export creates a shape with this master and its style sheets, and then this shape can be processed further with the so-called shape processing steps to achieve the final results, how the shape then looks in Visio. I can quickly show you how that looks in code. With the presentation mode, so you can see. Yeah, so you can pass this export configuration, and this configuration has a list of master providers, where you list and you can push your own master providers there, and the same goes for these shape processing steps. Yeah, and now we're gonna jump into our programming example. If you want to follow along, you can find the sample code on GitHub. You can follow the link below. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna first explain this code. This is part of basically a slightly modified version of the VSDX template demo. I think the only difference is that we use a different node style, and it's basically this demo you've seen before with one, which yeah currently has this small graph, and if you export it, the graph is placed on a page from the template with this logo. And how is this achieved? First of all, we are fetching our template file and create an instance with this template. So the template is then inside of this VSDX.io instance. And then, yeah, we basically we use the default configuration in this case. And add our graph to the page we first extract. As you remember, we have two pages, one background page and one foreground page. And the background page is at index 0, the foreground page is at index 1, and we want to add the graph to the foreground page, so we retrieve the edge at index 1. And then we add our graph to this page, call our write-blob method to serialize everything, and save this. Now we're gonna modify it such that I'm not sure if we've shown that before, but our template has this document stencil with computers with this red screen. And we want to use this stencil for a graph as well. And We can do that by adding our own master provider that basically for each node looks up the respective stencil in the template and assigns it to our node. And to do that, we need to start with an empty configuration. So the default master providers don't mess with our custom one. And yeah, I'm not gonna type everything, so you would just watch me type for a minute. So I'm gonna copy that over. So this is a custom master provider. So we create a class that extends from master provider base and overrides this node method. The node method is called every time a new node is encountered in the graph and is supposed to either return null if we don't want to be responsible for that kind of node, or return a master for that node. And this is what we do here for each node in the graph. And for that, we extract the master from our context. The context has a masters property, which is a list of all masters currently in the Visio document. And we try to find the one that is named computer. That's what this line does. And if we find that, and well, hopefully we do, otherwise we are not using the correct template, we return this list. And then we have to configure to export a bit more. And basically what we do is we add our computer stencil master provider we just created and add it to the list of master providers. And since we don't only have nodes, but also edges, we also need to add master providers for the edges and for ports, even if they are invisible. Yeah, then we need some shape processing steps. These are part of the VSDX export, so we can just import them and use them. And same goes for the shape processing steps. These are basically the few shape processing steps we need for all kinds of diagrams, so we just add them. And yeah, if we from final thing, in order that the shapes on the page are at the correct position, we need to set evaluate formulas to true. Otherwise, the specific values in the shapes might not be correct because while the formulas are correct, the concrete values haven't been calculated correctly. So we need to set that to true. And if we run that, I think I can load. Hopefully our screens are red now. Yes, they are. Right. Okay, so we've used the template, added our diagram, and used for each node we used our existing stencil that was in the template for this node. Yeah, good. That was the programming example. And yeah, if you want to have a look at the code, it's on GitHub. Check it out. Okay, that concludes our webinar, at least from my side. If you have questions, yeah, type them into the chat and I will try to answer them. Okay, there are some questions. What are the requirements for a yFiles for HTML app to fully utilize a customized VSDX export? That's a bit hard to answer. Yeah, one requirement is that you should optimally use SVG for your item styles. Otherwise, the export becomes a bit harder, and you have to basically program everything or to create those the shapes manually. But you could, of course, also use HTML or WebGL styles and then use Visio stencils and assign them to the yFiles items, as I've shown you. And apart from that, I think there aren't very specific requirements. Okay, second questions. Are there any diagram size restrictions for the VSDX export? Theoretically, there are no real restrictions, but of course, as the graphs become bigger, the export will take longer, and it will take longer to open in Visio, and of course, Visio doesn't handle large graphs, large diagrams very well. In terms of item count, I wouldn't create too large of diagrams. But it's, of course, possible with the mentioned drawbacks. Okay, a third question. Can a diagram that has been split across multiple pages be exported to VSDX? I think you mean the diagram has been split into several pages in yFiles. Then it's so as long as it's separate iGraph instances or separate diagrams, you can add each of the graphs separately on separate pages in Visio as well. That's no problem. But you'll have to do the splitting on the yFile side first. Okay. Another question. Will the layout of nodes and edges be fully retained during the VSDX export? Yes, the short answer. Of course, there are some limitations for labels because font measurings are slightly different in the browser and in Visio, so there might be some pixel differences, but usually edges and nodes are converted one-to-one. Yeah. Okay. Can I use Visio stencils that react to the shape data with my data from yFiles? I think you mean that your stencils have formulas that react to the shape data. If so, yes, you can do that. Of course, you need to configure the mapping for the business data and set that correctly. And yeah, if your shape data is set up correctly, then the formulas will also react correctly. Okay. Yeah, then I think there are no more questions. If you have more questions, feel free to contact our support team. We're always happy to help you. Good. Then that's it for today. I wish you a good rest of the day and happy diagramming.